Hey everyone, continuing on my how-to solder tutorial, I thought I'd kind of do a two-in-one here. We're going to do reflow style soldering, and it's also a do-it-yourself solder paste dispenser. If you look on eBay or Alibaba Express, you'll find these solder paste dispensers that are around about $160 or so. Basically, usually all they are is a dual process solenoid valve and a Venturi setup and some timers, basically logic controllers for it, and it takes compressed air and pushes it out through a syringe. So I kind of have an example of the style of syringes they'll be using for this, and I went on eBay and I found a kit basically that has all the front end stuff, the syringes, the needles, the hookups and all that, and I have some solenoid valves because of the aeroponics projects I work on, so I decided to take a couple of these valves and the front end kit and test it out on a big air compressor I have out in my garage, and in my tests I found out it worked real well, so I decided to make a better prototype mock-up. So the basic idea here is you have a push button switch that you push, and that releases the air and pressurizes the syringe, and when you let off of it, of course closes the pressure valve and releases all the pressure in the syringe. I'm not explaining it well, I'll do it better in just a second. But basically you have your main components, which are the syringe, the adapter, which gives you a good seal and a good positive lock so that the pressure doesn't blow the syringe off and you don't shoot your lab partner in the eye with a needle in that, although that might be kind of cool. Anyways, here's the needle, an example of a larger size needle. So once you have these hooked up like this, it's really a matter of placing a plunger in it. And then basically what I do when I fill these, I'll kind of just go over the example here. I'll take it out here. Say the plunger wasn't in here and I didn't have a needle on it and it's an empty syringe like this. I'll take a bunch of solder paste, I'll just fill it right up in here, and then we would take the plunger, push it in, and then with this open you just kind of push that all the way up until you get no air bubbles in there. Then you can put your needle on and then attach the back end onto the syringe there, like that, and then you just close it up and it's nice and secure, and you can put quite a bit of pressure in there. I usually run about 30 psi. So there's that part. The real heart of the machine is really just basically my two solenoid valves and an air compressor. So even if you're using the solenoid or solder paste dispensers that you get off of eBay or whatever, you're still going to need a compressor like this. This is the cheapest oilless air compressor you can get at the box stores. I think it was like $70. It does 100 psi, as you can see, and it works actually pretty well for this. So I'm kind of impressed by that. I thought it would be a piece of junk, but it's okay. And then what you do is you basically energize the system with your compress air. I put the standard, compressor hookups on there just to make it easy to interface with. So the process flow is you push the button and it opens up this valve, which then pressurizes this portion, which then leads out to the syringes. So then when you push the button, you of course just pressurize the syringe and it pushes out your solder paste. When you release the button, it closes this solenoid. It then opens this solenoid, which releases all the pressurized air that's pushing the solder paste off, and then relieves the pressure, and then it stops dispensing. I think the commercial units have a dual process valve, so they just use one valve that's more expensive, but it also has a Venturi on it, which puts a vacuum and actually cuts off a little bit better than this one. But in my experience, and experiments, this seems to work pretty well, so I'll kind of just stick with it. basically these are standard valve from STC Valve. I'll put up a link for these. They are a pretty good, reliable valve company. I've dealt with them for a while, and I seem to like their valves. Most of them are actually pretty rebuildable too. So, as you can see, you can get these in various supplies. These ones happen to be mains, and that's just what I had on hand at the time when I built this. I'm going to actually redo the design and do the DC 12 volts and drive them with heat-sinked MOSFETs most likely, and that'll make it just a cleaner design with a single board. But basically, I have an older relay board that I designed a while ago that's basically just an Arduino on there that drives 2 relays, and then it has some hookups on it so that you can hook like an XB or something up to it. Right now I just got a USB to a serial board powering it just for simplicity's sake. And yeah, basically I just have some code that read a button, and then it opens up the relays depending on the state of that button, and it couldn't be really any simpler than that. So let me fire everything up, and I'll do some demonstrations to show you how this works, and then at the same time we'll talk a little bit about reflowing soldering. So it's kind of a 2-in-1 package right now. So I hope everybody enjoyed the do-it-yourself solder paste dispenser, and I'm going to go ahead and put some links in the description to basically a write-up on my site about this in more detail. I'll try and get some better pictures of everything and talk about it more, and hopefully show how somebody could improve this with using DC and getting rid of the mains and all that stuff. So anyways, let's get to showing how this works, and yeah, okay. Just kind of put this down here. So again, I'm going to use my magic weapon here, which is my parts all labeled and organized, which will allow me to assemble these quicker, and it's actually pretty effective. See my other video, I'll link to that in the end of this. And basically I just organize the parts by order, and then that way I always know where they are and it makes it easier. Let's get to reflow soldering. The first step to this, of course, is to make sure that your boards are clean. So I'll grab like a coffee filter style material here, and then get my 50% mix. 1 part of, as you know, it's 1 part acetone, 1 part rubbing alcohol, so a 50-50 mix of the two. And then just make sure your boards are clean. This will help eliminate some problems, and it'll also make the last step of cleaning all the flux in that off a little bit easier. So once again, just make sure all your parts are clean there, and yeah, so that should make it fairly easy to lay down our solder paste. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take one of our boards here, and we'll just show how to lay down some of the solder paste. In this case, we'll go ahead and start with this one on the bottom side here. So let me bring the camera down just a little bit here, and hopefully this should be close enough for you guys to see what's going on. I'll see, maybe I can zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, right there. I think that's as close as I can get with that. But I'm going to grab my button and my syringe here. Okay, everything seems to be working, so let's go ahead and dispense some solder paste. So I just push the button, it comes out, I release it, it stops. It's very easy to use. If you try and do this by hand, you'll know you have to put a lot of pressure on the syringe to get this to flow out, or you have to thin down your paste, and it's better to have it thicker than thin. So by using the pneumatic tool, it's a lot easier to do, and it's very precise. And you can actually dispense it quite quickly. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'll move this aside. We'll place components in just a second. We'll go ahead and do the same thing on this board. Oh, looks like we got a little bit of an air bubble in there. Okay, and that one's done. And, yeah, I won't worry about the LEDs and that on this right now. So there, now we can place components. And, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the air on that. And I'll zoom out just a little bit with this. And that way, you guys can kind of get a more bird's eye view on when I'm placing components on this. And then we'll show a demonstration of reflowing it. So basically, what I'll do now is I'll get my vacuum pickup tool that we've shown in the other videos, and then I'll just pick up and place the components as I need them. So we'll go ahead and set these guys aside and work on this guy for just a second here. And I need some orientation so we can place. And the solder paste will hold that down. And we got our charge pump here, and then we can start placing our charge pump flyback capacitor and our bypass capacitors to make sure that we have a stable negative supply rail. One more of those. This is next to the op amp, just to give it a little extra. Then we have a 10 UF general bypass to make sure we have enough supply capacitance on the back side here. And then a couple of higher frequency bypass capacitors. Then there's one on the op amp input, just to make sure it's got enough AC decoupling across that. And then we can put in some of our gain circuit. There, and there's another one of those right there. And there is a third right in the middle here. One of the changes I made was to slightly increase the distance between there, and so I need to check if my guard ring still protects everything enough. And so I'll add our gain resistor right there. And then this guy's ready to go in for reflow, so we'll set him aside, and then we can kind of work on the same. As you see, the analog front end is really similar to those. I tried to kind of keep them similar. So then we'll place our op amp here, like that, and we can place our AC decoupling cap there. And our gain resistor. And we need our charge pump, of course. Can't forget the charge pump. And when we're there, I'll go ahead and do its decoupling caps. Flyback capacitor. And IC bypass. Then we have our other gain control circuits here. Okay. And 4K7 limit current to the ADC of the microcontroller. And I can't remember. It's 1K and then a 3K. And that's our offset voltage divider. And we'll have just our bypass capacitors to place there. And those are basically all 1 microfarad except for one. And that guy is a 1 UF right in the middle. And he's just general supply bypass. And then we have a reverse protection MOSFET on there, or PFET. Forgot to open him up, sorry about that. Okay, and there he is. Okay, that guy's moving. And then we just gotta put a couple in here. We have a diode. This is a flyback diode, just to make sure that you don't kill your transistor or your ADC or your digital out pin on your microcontroller. And then we have a transistor to act as a switch and a current limiting resistor. And that's pretty much all there is on that one. So let's go ahead and cut this, and then we'll show the reflowing of these in the oven. So I've loaded our boards in, and I'm going to go ahead and fire up the reflow routine. Here's our temperature there now. So we'll go ahead and fire that up. Go shut everything. Okay, so we've started our routine, and we're maybe about, I don't know, 10 seconds into it. Just a second or two before the video started. We're heating up. We can see our tubes getting warm there. We're at about 46 C now.
Trying to get zoomed in here. I don't know how close I'm going to be able to... Yeah, looks like I'm not going to be able to do what I want. I don't have a very good grip on the camera, sorry about that. That's a pretty good angle right there. We're at about 140 now, so we're just starting our soak-in time. Pull back, and there's our temperature. We're at about 170 now. Sorry for the camera shake, I'm handheld holding it right now. 180. About 192. We should start to see some of them reflowing now, I think. $204. There we go. 214.
Looks like we got everything. Open the door here. Nice and toasty. Okay, let's see what we're working with here. Some nice baked cookies. Oh, we got one capacitor didn't flow right. Looks like I'll have to fix him, but that's not a big deal. And yeah, everything else looks pretty good. So I can do the other side, and it's pretty much a rinse and repeat cycle there. And I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And I'll do a video showing how to fix some of the problems of these too. Thank you. Bye.